Hello and welcome back to Radio 1. Today is the third lecture of Radio 1 and we're starting with a new chapter today. Okay, so we're starting with chapter 14. So in the previous two classes, we've just looked at the radio landscape in detail. So we looked at community radio stations, we looked at commercial radio stations, and we looked at PBS, public broadcasters. Then we looked at DAB versus FM versus just pure online radio stations. So where does it start? How does one start a radio station? Well, first and foremost, you need a license, okay? So you need a license that is granted by ICASA. If you pick up your, I don't know, if you have a mouse, okay, for your laptop, if you look at the back of your laptop, if you look at the box that your phone was in, if you have AirPods or earphones and you look on that, everything's got a label that says ICASA. Okay, ICASA is the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa. So they are in charge of the radio stations. And they are mandated to issue licenses to ensure universal service and access to everyone, to monitor the whole industry, to hear their disputes, to plan and control and manage the frequency spectrum, and to protect customers from unfair business practice. So what is frequency spectrum? Radio stations, in essence, get two separate licenses. The first is called a class license. That is the license that tells you what your name is and what FM you fall under, let's say 88.9 FM, whatever it might be, okay? Your class license will give you a list of requirements you need to adhere to. But then you also get what is called a spectrum license, okay? Spectrum license shows you your footprint, in essence. It shows you how far and wide you are allowed to broadcast, because obviously everyone can't just broadcast wherever they want to, because then we would sit with a lot of radio stations overlapping each other. So ICASA regulates this, okay? They monitor and regulate the frequency spectrum. So where on the frequency scale you can sit. And this is whether it's AM or whether it's FM. So as you can hear, ICASA does quite a lot in South Africa, and radio stations have what's called an ICASA licensing officer, and that's the officer that is in charge of a specific station to make sure that they are adhering to all their rules and that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, in essence, okay? So in 2017, ICASA ceased the issuing of new licenses due to a lack of available frequency on the analog broadcast spectrum. So there's been a lot of speculation that ICASA has said that you can now apply for a license once again, but that's not completely the case. What they did in October of 2020 is they opened an invitation, okay? So they received is that they opened up applications for people, inviting people who want to pre-register for community sound broadcasting service licenses. If you want to start a community radio station, you could have started applying for a license at the end of 2020. As of yet, however, we have not heard back from what is happening with regards to those, and we're not quite sure where on the spectrum they want to place these, though. So there's currently a big discussion going on with regards to ICASA and with regards to community licenses, and with regards to whether we will be getting more community radio station licenses. There's also been a new commercial radio station that's popped up called Star FM, and they literally opened their doors on the 1st of July here in Johannesburg. And if you go and have a look at the presenters that's on Star FM, it's a lot of people that have previously been in the industry for quite a while, that's quite well known. So they've started establishing themselves from the start. So digital radio relies on two modes of digital distribution, which is first and foremost DAB or DRM, And then secondly, data streamed radio. So what you see here on this picture, the first one there is how a normal FM or AM radio signal will work. So from the transmitter, it'll either go in FM waves, okay, or it'll go in an AM wave to your radio station, versus digital DAB signals, which takes the FM AM signal, is relayed to a digital receiver, which then codes this signal, okay, into data pockets. So you can see there the zeros and ones, and that is then sent through to your digital receiver. So a very good example to help you understand this is DSTV, okay, digital satellite radio. So DAB, digital audio broadcasting, is the digitization of the terrestrial FM analog radio signal. Okay, so we're digitizing the FM or AM analog signal. The way it works, like I just said, relatively simple. Radio stations create a digital signal. The digital signal is transmitted and picked up by an HD or digital receiver in your home or in your car. There's very little interference on the digital broadcast, thus making the quality far better than that of an FM signal, okay? Very good quality. Not only is the quality better, but DAB contains packets of metadata, so packets of information that can carry pictures, names of songs, artists, and other useful information. So it's not only the signal that's being carried. And what we're going to be doing now is just a bit of an intro into the radio landscape, okay, separate from just the stations. And we're going to look at it from an academic preparation viewpoint to see how we can prepare you for this course. So when it gets down to it, getting into the radio industry isn't easy. Just because there are many people who want to work in radio, but there are very limited opportunities available. This is due to the number of shows that are currently running, the amount of time in the day, and the small operations teams with which radio stations can operate. If we do a quick calculation, just to put it in context, then currently, let's say, there are over 300 radio stations, but let's go with 300 radio stations in South Africa, including the community radio stations and the retail stations that have licenses to broadcast. Each of these radio stations operate for a minimum of 12 hours a day and a maximum of 24 hours, obviously, a day. So let's assume that a standard radio show is 3 hours long and that each show has a minimum of 3 people working on air. So the maths would then be as follows. For a 12-hour radio station, such as the retail radio stations and most of the community stations, as well as the stations that use pre-programmed shows overnight during low listening hours, you can basically divide 12 by 3, which gives you 4 shows. 4 shows times, let's say, 2 people per show gives you 8 people on air daily. For a 24-hour radio station, that number could grow between 15 to 24 people on air daily. And the operations teams can vary from between 16 to 32 people behind the scenes. So for 300 radio stations, the number of available jobs in South African radio is between 4,800 and 9,600. Therefore, for 300 radio stations, the number of available jobs in South African radio is between 4,800 and 9,600. Considering that a single bank or FMCG company could employ in excess of 10,000 people, the number of jobs available in the formal radio sector is tiny. The number of jobs available in the formal radio sector is tiny. This is why you will need to continue to look at new ways of creating content for audiences outside of the formal sector. This is why you need to develop your skills, increase your network of contacts, and improve your abilities through studying and practicing radio. When we're done with chapter 14, you should be able to identify and discuss the elements that should form part of the body of work for radio, and you should understand what makes up a body of work that reflects the presenter's abilities on air with reference to a digital portfolio, a digital profile, an experience log, volunteering and mentorship, networking and relationships, and create a professional CV to be used in the context of radio broadcasting. So that is what we will be preparing you for in this lesson. Radio has many diverse fields of opportunity that are changing on an almost daily basis, from traditional linear FM radio to the new wave of digital distribution and integration. However, whether you wish to work in an operational capacity, as a performer, as a presenter, as a DJ, or just general talent, it's important to understand that studying radio, even at a tertiary level where we're at now, is not going to provide you with the full education you need in order to become a great radio professional. Scott Shannon from New York City's WCBS FM, so 101.1 FM, explains that radio professionals need to do a few things in order to be able to excel. And those things are to read everything, to watch everything. You need to have some knowledge on everything, and you need to spend time with a variety of people. So by reading and watching everything you can, you will further your knowledge on a variety of topics. This will align with your ability to take account of and act in accordance with prescribed radio organizational and professional ethics codes of conduct, values, and practices. As a radio professional, you are expected to have these skills. Therefore, you should immerse yourself in as many books, shows, newsworthy content, and academic interests as you can. As a result of this discipline, you will be a better radio professional in the long run. Studying is not a static thing, and the act of learning does not cease when you graduate. Rather, it's an ongoing process that you need to cultivate in order to ensure that you are continually learning, improving your skills, and challenging yourself. A radio professional needs to embrace this mentality, as they have the opportunity to be on the forefront of new developments in multiple fields. Moreover, they are relied on by large groups of people to inform and educate them about these new improvements. So in short, if you don't know something, find out. In other words, stay curious and always look up things when you don't understand them. In this way, you should treat every new opportunity as a chance to learn, whether it's a paid or an unpaid opportunity. Even rejection can be Number 1, a positive attitude toward your studies. Number 2, a passion for media. Number 3, the ability to work and think independently. Number 4, the ability to persevere and complete tasks. Number 5, an inquiring mind. Number 6, good English proficiency. And lastly, number 7, the ability to work well with others. So can you play nice? So if we start there with number 1, a positive attitude towards your studies. At times your studies are going to be tough. The long hours and the heavy workloads far surpass those of high school. Keeping the end goal in sight and having the right attitude are essential in achieving success. If we look at a passion for media, passion is a highly sought after quality for an employee. Therefore, you should develop your love of the industry by immersing yourself in it. In other words, take every opportunity to attend guest lectures and seminars, as well as intern at local media houses. The ability to think and work independently. So in a recent survey, more than 50% of British academic admission officers said that they believed that students entering the tertiary academic world were unprepared for the leap to higher education. When asked why they believe this, 89% of them said that students lack the ability to think and learn independently. Moreover, 75% of the academic admissions officers cited a lack of social skills and common sense to be the cause of this. The ability to think and work independently is an important skill that you need to acquire early on in your studies in order to achieve success. As you move into higher education, you are expected to take more initiative and discover what needs to be done rather than waiting for someone to tell you. There are many ways in which you can become more independent and self-sufficient in your studies. So there are 6 skills that can help you excel at this. The first is organizational skills, multitasking ability. Third is self-discipline. Number 4, communication skills. 5, the ability to compromise. And number 6, flexibility. Okay. So those are what you need to be able to think and work independently. Then you need the ability to persevere and complete tasks. Commitment and the ability to take responsibility will enable you to succeed in completing any task. There are times when it may take a long time and a lot of hard work to achieve something worthwhile. However, being willing to commit to completing a task will prove that you are someone who can be relied on. An inquiring mind. Curiosity and enthusiasm for learning are valuable personality traits. It's therefore a good idea to set yourself a goal to learn something new every day. In this way, you can challenge your mind and hone your curiosity to the benefit of your craft and your career. Number 6, good English proficiency. Even if you're looking at creating radio in a language other than English, it's good to be proficient in it. Almost all media groups, advertising and media agencies work in English. International media companies also operate in English, as it's the language of international communication, business, science, computers, media, the internet, and tourism. Therefore, having a firm grasp of the English language will increase your chances of getting a job in radio and will open up your content to global markets. Whatever language in which you are broadcasting, you should be fluent in it. You don't want your listeners correcting your grammar or any interviews to be spoiled by misunderstandings, as this is unprofessional and erodes trust. And then lastly, the ability to work well with others. Many tertiary education courses require group work. I used to do a lot of group work. Similarly, in the workplace, you will often be required to work with other people. You therefore need to have the flexibility to embrace the ideas of others, as well as listen to what others are saying. Listening is about understanding and collaborating with others and sharing work and completing tasks as part of a group. And these are important skills for any field of work. If we look at the core characteristics needed to being an effective team member, the first is to communicate effectively. And this means talk to your members of your group. If you have an issue, raise it. Be clear and objective in the way that you raise an issue, rather than accusing someone of something. Don't place the blame on others. And this means working in a team often means that some people work harder or have more knowledge and experience than others, which may lead to ineffective results. It may be difficult to see it this way, but you may be the problem. Before you pinpoint the weakest members of any group, try to consider yourself first. You should first determine if you can change your behavior or the way you speak to others and ascertain whether that yields a better result. The next one, support members of the group. Support ideas sharing and free thinking. Encourage shy people to speak up and create spaces for them to talk. Only speak when you have something valuable to say. Then listen actively. So now what I want you to do for me as part of your homework is to do activity 14A on page 528. Okay. So it says there, number 1, list 5 areas of knowledge that you would like to develop or learn. Number 2, explain in a brief paragraph how you could use these knowledge areas to create interesting content for the radio show. Number 3, reflect on the 7 qualities that universities look for in a student and then answer the following questions. A, give yourself a score out of 10 for how you fare for each of the qualities. And B, explain why you gave yourself the score. Then number 4, choose 3 of the communication strategies described in the table and then answer the following questions. A, discuss in a short paragraph why you feel that each one is important for good communication. B, provide an example of a situation in which each strategy would be useful. Make sure, please, that you do complete activity 14A. If you haven't, or if you're not doing it yet, go back and do it, please. Don't shortchange yourself. This is your career, and the activity definitely shows you where you need to improve and what you need to focus on as a professional student. If we had to summarize this lesson, I want you to read page 523 up until 528 again. From this lesson and from the reading, you can see that you need to take control of your own learning. That's what it all comes down to. Learning to be a radio person is not going to happen only by attending lessons and passing your assignments, okay? Instead, you do need to do more. So test yourself, and I want you to test yourself to see if you understood this lesson. Number 1, true or false? It's easy to get a radio job. Number 2, choose the most correct statement. To excel as a radio student, you need to only attend lectures and pass your assessments. Or to excel as a radio student, you need to attend lectures, pass your assessments, and get into the habit of reading, watching, learning a little about a lot, and spending time with a variety of people. And then number 3, true or false? Because I want to work at an ALS SABC radio station, that ALS being African language station, English proficiency is not important. Answers for it's easy to get a job in radio, false. Okay. If you don't understand that, read page 523. Read page 523 again. If we go back to number 2, choose the most correct statement. To excel as a radio student, you need only attend lectures and pass your assessment, or to excel as a radio student, you need to attend lectures, pass your assessments, and get into the habits of reading, watching, learning, and watching, learning a little Radio is an almost magical extension of the human spirit. It can cry out and make a listener feel, or laugh, or think. Powerful radio rings true and evokes an emotion. It also makes the listener want to keep listening in the hope that this will happen again. Hopefully, this is one of the reasons that you've decided that you want to study radio. So radio, no matter what the delivery method, is very, very personal. People no longer sit around in groups listening to it. Today, much listening is done alone, almost in secret, through our headphones, computers, on our cell phones, or in our cars. So one by one, the listeners are hunting for that connection, that powerful magic, which is often missing from audio media today. Watching an average listener punch through the buttons on the car radio or scan the internet is proof of that. So your audience must care about what you're saying. It needs to be something that matters to them. It needs to touch their lives. The content of the topic must reach them in a real and true way. And the topic can never be boring, okay? Or the audience will tune out. So before anything goes to air, ask yourself, is it relevant? Does it matter? Do you care? Does your listener care? While it may be the music, the news that first touches a listener, the listener will tune back in because of the personalities, because of the performance on radio. So the key to personality radio is having a personality, hence why you need to spend time reading things, watching things, learning a little about a lot, and spending time with different people. So this means having a rich, full life and drawing on all of your life experiences. How you relate to your life is how your audience will relate to you. The best broadcasters are great observers of life. They filter what they see going on around them through their unique creative process and send it back out into the world. They talk about what they see, what they notice, what they think and feel. They share their real selves. They mention what irritates them, what excites them, what saddens them. They react honestly to the news, to current events, and the music they play, and they are, above all else, great storytellers. So how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as someone with a big passion for media or for radio? And do you see yourself as a great storyteller or as someone who can be taught to be a great storyteller? Do you think you can come up with new ideas on how to create content outside of the normal ways that we're currently doing it? Do you have the ability to create a network of contacts? Can you work on your body of skills, okay, to hone in on your skill sets? If you can do that, along with the academic side of it, you can have a great radio career, okay? So that's what we're going to be focusing on. In the next lesson, we're going to look at the body of work needed to grow your competencies, okay? This includes an audio portfolio and a digital portfolio. Both of these are extremely important for you to start focusing on, to start working on, to start building your specific brand as to how you want to be perceived. Building a personal brand is more important than ever. It allows the world to see what you are about as an individual. By building your personal brand, it can show the skills and the qualities that you have, what defines you and what makes you important or what makes you different. You need to stand out from the crowd if you want to be seen as one of those between 4,000 and let's say 10,000 people to get a job in the radio industry. Because again, personal branding allows you to distinguish yourself from everyone else and become more visible. Having a personal brand can really help you boost your credibility and showcase your expertise within the industry. So this is something I want you to start thinking about for our next lesson, and to see whether you started building on your personal brand. If you have, which platforms have you been utilizing up until now? And is it purely digital or do you have an on-air or have you started working on an audio portfolio also? Okay, so that's what we'll be chatting about. But for now, this is where I'm going to leave it. So please do me a favor, reread pages 523 up until 527 and answer those questions once again and see where you think you fit in within the radio landscape. And that's it from me for now. Okay, up until next time, I'm going to say goodbye.